So here's the final results of that algo test. Profit trades again in line with most other tests I've posted on here at 70.97%. So that's the win rate, almost 71%. You can see the profit trajectory is very solid. It shows a very solid methodology because it's up, dip, and typically because you're not going to be right every single time, that's what you would expect it to look like. Within this is just the variance of wins and losses. You can see the maximal drawdown from peak to trough is here. Okay, the overall drawdown, the maximum you ever went down, you can see is pretty much nothing. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Yeah, you don't go down at any point as far as I can see. So it's straight profits and just upside trajectory after that. Largest profit trade 5.7k, average profit trade 3k, lost trade max 5,443, lost trade average 4,542. So if you tighten the risk slightly, then it probably would have fit the 5% max rules. But nonetheless, you know, a lot of people are going to trade cash anyway. So still pretty suitable as long as the win rate is high enough. So let's look at the test, let's comment on it and see how it goes. Gains on that push. So nice entry followed by a short there. Gonna have to kill that where it's bouncing around. So we're out for that as well. So some wins on the board there early on. Let's see what else we can start to pick up. So 2 gains there. Price a little bit choppy at the moment. You're not really seeing too much either way. You can see just teetering around, back and forth, probably mixed sentiment there. You know, nothing majorly ideal. So we take a long on that fall, struggling a bit to get back up past the 200 MA, and we're out for a loss. It does bounce after we're out for a loss, but nonetheless, a valid entry. It's just one that's going to have to go down as a loser. So pop there to key flip zone. You can see to the left, lots of rejection. Almost got our take profit. I think we're out there. So just removing that before it became dangerous and before the value was pretty much removed overall. If we can get over these highs, we'll probably have a short in play there. So a lot of mean reversion. You can see now well off the 55, the 100 and the 200. All your key MAs below. So a drop back now would be ideal. You can see stopping at that early support and we're through it. Okay, so a nice take there for gains again. Anything lower near those MAs and we can start to look at that long. So just let price develop here. That's probably going to have to drop a bit lower for us to take anything long. You see a stochastic oscillator is right down buried as we go into May 2022. So already coming into sort of half the year. I've got some decent gains on the table already. Pushing into those MAs now, we could close for a loss here if we keep seeing subdued price, which is what happens. But we can DCA the second time at that key level, you can see, where there's a bit of support. So we need to really come back towards those MAs, and we do, out for gains there. And any climbing nature here, we're going to want to look short as our stochastic oscillator starts to rise and potentially peak. You can see it's into overbought territory now, 80 plus. But that doesn't mean it's going to fall necessarily straight away. So we're out for a loss there. Price is coming back slightly, but that's another loser. If we can pip this high again, we're going to have a really overbought arena to deal with, and therefore probably want to look slightly short again. So if we drop to the downside, however, you know, we'll probably see a long warranted at those key MAs below and some decent support. So again, stochastics starting to pull down into that oversold area under the 20. So let's see how that develops now. Not really much in the way of large price deviation and price action. So probably going to have to wait a minute. Again, messy stochastic oscillator. A bit of a push to the upside. Now coming into the second part of 2022. So let's see what we can do with this. There you go. So alpha gains on that. So not much of a reaction. So we killed that off early. Really just had price struggling. So it's best to get rid of it. The value's effectively diminished. So coming into summertime, July 2022, going into August now. Anything lower, it's probably going to be a long again. Obviously, anything higher, back near a 130 plus could warrant a short, maybe 131 near that key rejection zone higher. Still quite choppy, we're going a good amount of time now with no entry, but it is filtering out the bad from the good, which obviously is going to help our win rate and our accuracy overall. So pop there. Might need it a bit higher to get anything decent short. Still a very sticky market. You can see it sideways, really not giving us much, but it will eventually, as it always does. So there, it's your short. Back to those key MOs would be ideal, and a bit of support there in the way, but we're out. There's your rejection. Anything lower would be long. Anything higher again, we're going to start to look short. So a larger dip would be ideal. Not quite there for a long, but something lower would be nice. Didn't quite get it. Probably missed a long there. Got your pop above the highs. That's going to be a re-short. And then back down at those MAs, it'll be a re-long. So there's your short above the highs. Possibly market making stop. Could keep climbing out for a loss. We might get another DCA short. Just have to see how this develops. So it's climbing. Obviously, sentiment is harsh to the upside, which is going to give us a bigger mean reversion, probably. Still not having anything just yet. Okay. On a larger dip, we still might get a long off here. So let's just see how that occurs. So still stalling. Not quite red as a short. Potentially miss a short here. As I say, if it drops, we'll still get the long. So protected bias, more or less. Still not quite in anything now. There's your short back at the highs. So established resistance level there. Key support is going to be where it's killed out, depending on how far price goes. So it's trying. Looks like the value is going to be diminished. So we'll kill that off. That's out. Price supported still. So very, very light, sort of quick in and out there. Really very close resistive area. So good to be out. You can see prices still trickling lower rather than sticking in long. Stock is now getting lower and lower. Key support level there again. Might get out of this. Yep, out for gains on the long. So some very, very tight trading now. Margins have been reduced, and you're not really getting a big deviation in price. Any repush to that previous rejection at highs would warrant a new short. Any big push to the downside near those higher MAs would warrant a long. So now coming to the end of 2022, which is a profitable year based on these parameters. So out for a loss, we might get a second long if we keep pushing lower to key support to the left. There's your long at that MA. And a push up is going to deliver gains if you can get it. Price struggling a little bit. Stochastic still very low. Let's just see what it can do. Out for gains. So really no deviation at the moment, just moving a little bit slowly. There's your push. And then a drop back to support for an exit. There's a short. So that will need to be killed at early support if it can be, which you might get. It's very close. Doesn't quite want to take it. There you go, we're out. So we're going to need a bigger deviation to the downside for longs here, definitely. There's your long. Kill it at early resistance and those MAs. It's got to pop. There it is, out. So just dripping down, you're really not getting much in the way of mean reversion or any sort of edge. If it pops higher, you may be okay. You are coming into a key resistance and key MAs. Probably not going to get much unless you can break out of this range. You can see around 134 and 132. So still quite choppy. It's got to go higher than that, probably nearer 136. There you are. Short. So a bit too momentous there, so we're out for a loss. Probably end up with another short if it keeps climbing higher. So that last stop, not quite there. Just went slightly higher than anticipated. Doesn't look like it'll be a big problem here. A larger dip nearer those key MAs again is going to warrant a long. Haven't quite got that yet. May need it a little bit lower. Some key support now, so I think that's a decent long. Again, many decent longs don't come off, but should be a bit of momentum available there to kill that out for gains, or at least escape that trade. If it's not there, you just have to buy it at those lows for a DCA long. We might escape it for a minor loss. There we are, break even almost. So that's also part of the game. You know, it's exiting things when they're starting to look a bit shabby. So there's a short on a slight mean reversion there. You've got a good push. Bit of support in the way locally, so it might cause a problem, but we'll have to see how that ends up. Really resting along that support, not quite out. But any further dip, we may escape. There we go, we're out there. And we might get another long in here. Yep, long at that key level, you can see that. So out for gains there. Nice long, so really nice streak of movement there. So not getting anything yet because you've got just sideways movement continuously. Still nothing quite there. Let's flick through the results briefly. So 22 grand up. You can see. So again, reflecting a scaled account, that new loss amount is acceptable because you should have had your capital increase. Otherwise, if it was the first part, you would just drop the risk size. So just out for a loss there. It might turn just at the stop loss, possibly. Maybe not. We'll see. So a larger climb would warrant a short at this point. Need to come back near those MAs at least. So a push to the upside would be ideal. And a push to the low would be warranting a long. So any higher push now could be short. Hitting some key MA levels there. Rejection coming in. So we really want to get out of this if we can. So out of a short there. And on a drop, we could look long. Not quite ideal. Probably going to get a short there at key resistance. And we're out for gains on that. Any further dip would be ideal. Again, whether we'll get it or not entirely sure. So a short high would be ideal. So a little bit lower. We're going to look long. There we go. They're out for gains. So climbing slightly, but not really giving an edge. We're now getting much further into 2024, speeding things up a bit. So let's see how this ends up. Good lot of profit in the bank, clear upside profit trajectory as well. There's your push, and then a short. So cruising through mid-year. No real deviation at the moment, mixing around those MAs as well. And might get a short, possibly. Okay, maybe a long if it falls a bit more. Cruising through that higher MA. Still no longer applicable. Bit too fast on the fall. And now mixing around really with no massive edge. There's your short. Might not get that back. Okay, so just climbing, large mean reversion now. Might get another short, possibly, or a long if we can dip lower. And coming near the end of the test. Not sure if we'll get anything here.